Dan from the My James Rock Show, and well, we've met before, but this gentleman from The Devil Wears Prada is going to introduce himself.
What's up? I am Mike from TDWP.
Nice. I can see you've said that a lot over the years, just rattle through.
Easy to remember, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So the last time we caught up with you was about a year and a half ago at Slam Dunk in Hatfield, and since then you've done an album drop.
Yes, just recently, about a month ago.
We're re-familiarising ourselves with the act earlier today, because we get obviously all the singles, play those out, but we were saying that it was actually quite a diverse album for you guys. You've got some of the sort of breakaways from metalcore like Please Say No and stuff like that, but as well as some classic Devil Wears Prada. Was that intended in the writing style, was to push sort of some of the directions but still keep stuff for the fans that you've had for the years as well?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, the entire intent was to totally depart from that which we've done. Anything we were starting to write more in the vein of like our style of metalcore just felt like we'd already written it before.
Yep.
So really it's just a matter of utilizing the same tools we've always used, basically from a different perspective, using a different tact, and also introducing all sorts of other means of instrumentation to try to expand that which is the record. And it's not so much everything electronic is meant to, not meant to, but it's not the traditional means of keyboards and such in metalcore, and here and there, same with like guitars and such as well.
Yeah. Are you guys finding that it's hitting the mark with the fan base now? It's been out for a little bit, and obviously you're touring it at the moment, so you're getting that live feedback as well. Is it going down as well as you had hoped with people?
Truly. We were just in Russia and couldn't believe how well everyone knew it, and it's always... You always put out new records and you want to play all new stuff,
yep.
And fans don't like that. And in Russia, it was like, no, more new stuff. So it's on the selfish end of things, it's really rewarding to hear that as an artist. But yeah, just only the second show here in the UK. I talked to some folks last night that were really excited about the act. So we're most enthused to see how it goes rolling out through Europe.
Because it's an interesting thing for a sound as heavy as yours. You now got some more, I don't want to say sing-along numbers, but ones that you can get the crowd more involved in, because not everybody can shout sort of loudly, and to be perfectly honest, by the time they get to the headliners as well, the voice is gone.
Yeah.
Are you finding that's been really good to have that vibe coming back at you guys as well, as the crowd really being able to join in with...
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the intent I spoke of in utilizing different means of instrumentation goes just as far vocally, and not just using my voice, but using Jeremy's voice absolutely to a maximum. I mean, Jeremy's never sung so much on a record as this. So that's definitely a part of it as well. I think it opens up the accessibility of it, but it also just, and most importantly, enhances the songwriting and that which is each piece by piece, song by song on the record. So yeah, there's definitely a lot more singing. In terms of heaviness, like for a long time, there was definitely an obligation of like, oh, it's got to be heavier and whatnot. And there's certainly like, this bill tonight is like the heaviest of heavy, and it's like bizarre how heavy some of these bands are, and we don't really have any interest in that anymore. It's great to play with it. It's great that it's so well received, and that heavy music is so popular and received so well, even outside of the underground and more in like the secular rock world. But yeah, we didn't make a record to try to be heavy by conventional chug means.
Well, it's something that I think once a couple of bands had sort of taken that step out of almost metalcore by numbers, I think it gave a lot of other people the confidence to do the same thing, because they're seeing fan bases responding to it. For me, I mean, I've always enjoyed that sort of thing, because like you say, you get to a certain point, and one of the examples I remember of like having a very similar sort of ethos about a record was Parkway Drive, when they took their departure from the classic Parkway sound, but they're saying it was the best thing that they ever did. And it's awesome to hear that you're a couple of dates into this tour and it's already getting that, because I imagine you probably got a bit nervous in between album release and going out on stage, because I mean the internet comments are no bar of how successful you are, because apparently everybody hates me, so but yeah, I imagine like once you're actually getting that, it's probably giving you a lot more faith, and probably raised up the performance as well, because you know that you're not sort of doing that thing where you're like, oh, everybody hates it, and we've just got to get through these songs?
Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel like that live. We don't play a whole lot of the new stuff, but so far it has been received well, especially stateside headlining and whatnot. And the reception's been really good. I don't know, there's a level of vulnerability that exists when you do something different, and it's airy. It's hard to define what that kind of vulnerability is, but then at the same time, like, the feedback and the expectation is the exact same way. Like, there's a really hazy, non-existent nearly bar that's met in the feedback that you receive. So it's, like, you want to hope that comments might define your sound or something, but it really doesn't at all, it turns out. I think it just comes with the aging of it, and that's certainly a part of the act, is something that's meant to not hit trends, but hit something maybe a little bit bigger than that. So, there's, like, that kind of vulnerability and that little bit of fear, scare, as far as, again, expressing yourself and making yourself open, but at the same time, like, I wouldn't ever want to do anything else as far as the 7th record for Prada, so.
7, I saw all of the albums listed earlier, but it still sounds strange out loud, because we've touched base with you sort of every couple of years, it seems, since you started coming to the UK. Well, it's, again, something that we've noticed, because I'm a massive metalcore fan. As long as it's got metalcore in it, I'm pretty much, I'll listen to it. Mm-hmm. But it is that thing, is if you carried on doing the same thing, you would just get bored of your own stuff, and I imagine you wouldn't want to go out there and even play the older stuff because the new stuff sounded like it. So it's almost like an inbuilt rejuvenation for you guys to start falling in love with things again, because we talk about set lists with bands and how they vary with a new album, all this sort of stuff. The one thing we found quite interesting is it gives people a chance to disconnect from some of their tired ones, which they're not. Tired is probably the best way of putting it, because you play the same sort of 3 minutes of music over and over again. Whilst there's a fan in the crowd that's never seen it before, for you guys, it's every night. Mm-hmm. So I imagine it's been great just to go out there and just go, something different's happening.
Certainly, yeah. For a long time, we really took a step away from the older material, and it did lose perspective as far as that fan that hadn't seen the old stuff. So we've gradually brought stuff back stateside, where we have played more often than we, of course, play overseas. But it's difficult picking out a set list. John, our keyboard player, has really manned the reins handling that as of late, and he does a really terrific job, I think, in part because he has a really clear sort of objective look at our band, and he's not so deep within it and so subjective as like a business co-owner of the business, like all that jazz. So John has a good look at it, and he knows what people want and what we want, and that which we look to display. So set lists are tricky. It doesn't seem to ever get easier, for sure. No,
but I imagine it's also with more singing on this album as well, as your headline sets will be getting longer and longer, being that you're a headline band these days, I imagine it's probably good for you as well, because it gives you a chance not to be sort of 100% on the vocals for every single track, and take a step back and maybe drink a bit of water, have a breather. Because it's the other thing that people don't realise is if you're doing an hour and a half set of screaming stuff, by the end of it, your throat's sandpaper. Whether you've got the best technique in the world, I mean, I know singers that say the same thing when they're doing clean vocals, is their voice is just tired. So by balancing it between the two guys that you've got, amazing, because it means that you'll be fresher for the whole set. And I'm going to be singing along later, because I don't shout that much anymore. Do you have any idea what you're doing next, or is it literally just the album run at the moment? Like, that's the plan, and get all of that sort of done first?
Yeah, well, we've talked kind of behind the scenes, and an issue with Prada has been, over the last few records, is we basically put something out and it feels like the cycle fizzles out a little too quickly. With that, we put everything we had into this album. We feel it's definitive. It's like we're trying to make it like a make or break, as far as like it's this or it's not. Like here's where we are. So with that, we're just entirely focused on that. I don't think, especially writing anything as far as like a full length or anything, not for a long time. Yeah. I mean, Kyle's always jamming. John always has ideas. I'm always writing things. But yeah, I want to try to really drill this record into worldwide stage for the next 2 or 3 years, and that's where collectively between management and the band where our heads are at.
Okay, so you fortunately you're being supported by the management. They look after you guys as well, rather than being told you need to be thinking about the next record straight away, because I think that might be the sign for us to finish.
I suppose so. Is it already?
Yeah, doors have already happened. So we're being played
surprised.
out of the interview. Anyway, dude, thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes.
Yeah, good to see you guys again.
We'll catch you up when it's a bit quieter next time.
I'll be around, yeah.
All right, awesome.
Welcome to the My James Rock Show.